Welcome to the Oddity Shop, where the bizarre is always on sale.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Oddity Shop podcast. I am sitting here with the one, the only, the Kara Parakovic. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing wonderful.
Liar.
I am tired. I need a nap.
Me too.
But for anybody who is new here, this is the podcast that covers the creepy, odd, weird, paranormal, strange, bizarre stories from all over.
Yes.
And we're going to put in our 2 cents along the way. So what's going on with you this week?
Not a lot. I'm busy. You're busy. We haven't really done a lot of stuff fun, I feel like. Well, have we? I don't know. Yesterday, I sat down on the couch. I started listening to Paul Hulls, and his wonderful voice conked me out.
That's happened to me a couple times with that podcast too.
And then I was just dreaming of Paul Hulls.
Dreaming of holes.
It was great.
God.
Hot for holes.
Oh my God.
Anyway, that's about it.
Nice. You're getting ready to leave for the wedding, right? A couple days now.
Yes, I am.
Are you prepared? Have you written your speech?
No, I wrote Mom's.
That sounds about right.
Let me actually take that back. She wrote it all. I just helped her restructure it so it would flow better, and then I typed it for her.
So it flew better? I don't know if she should trust you to do it.
All right. Anyway, let's get into it because these people, they need their part 3.
The part three, the Winchester. Let's wrap it up. Get into some good stuff.
Yes.
Do you have a question?
No, because we're just getting into it. It is part 3. We don't need a question. The whole mystery of the Winchester house is a question in itself. You don't need an actual question.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'm going to let you pass with that one. That was a good save.
All right. So if you're just coming in, or this is your first time listening, or whatever, if you've skipped a couple episodes, we recommend you listening to part 1 to get an idea of Sarah herself, and part 2 of the house, because this is part 3 where we're wrapping up all of it. So go back, listen to those 2. But let's give a little bit of a recap, because this is the 3rd week in a row that we're doing this.
Gotta remind the people, I don't even remember what I ate for dinner last night, let alone what you said 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I thought you were going to say what you ate for dinner tonight, and I was going to be like,
no, I haven't eaten dinner tonight. There's a good reason for that.
That would be why.
If you hear me crunching, it's because I'm wasting away and I need a snack. All right, recap.
All right. We talked about a lot of the oddities of the architecture of the house in part 2. So rooms upon rooms, hidden doorways, staircases, doors to nowhere, all that kind of stuff.
Skylights,
and in part 1,
mirrors,
skylights.
But that's just because I can't listen.
And then in part 1, we really just did her background and how we got to where we are. All right. However, it goes a little bit further. Sarah was the only architect of the home, like we touched on. And she seemed to have a fascination or obsession with the numbers 7, 11, and 13. So for example, in the seance room, there are 13 panels on the wall, 13 hooks on the wall, and they're oddly placed. Like you wouldn't hang things on them the way that they're placed. Like they're like coat hooks, but they don't make sense.
Maybe she was trying to make it friendly for everybody's height, although she's the only one who went in that room.
Right, but it's not even that. It's like you wouldn't be able to hang an item from this hook without it hanging over. Like It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, so there's 13 hooks in there. Lighting fixtures around the house or mansion have like 13 bulbs in the things. Staircases with 7 stairs or 11 stairs. So it's just like those patterns. And the most famous staircase that we talked about having the 7 complete turns. The Hall of Fires has the 7 heating elements. So 4 fireplaces and 3 hot air registers. The bell tower rings 13 times.
Interesting. Because usually those go with the hours.
Yeah, usually it rings, but no, this one rings 13 times. So seemingly every part of the house and rooms and decor are structured around 7, 11, and 13. However, this is done in a way that if you weren't looking, you wouldn't notice. So if you and I are just passing their house, why are we going to be counting the panels? Or the hooks? Maybe the hooks, because it's odd that there's so many, but normally you wouldn't just notice this kind of stuff. People think this was almost a secret message or a code. Now remember, Sarah was raised and educated in an environment of free Masonic and Rosicrucian philosophy.
Right. So she's used to like hidden messages and things.
Right. So again, just a little bit of a reminder, a Freemason is a member of a large secret society. Freemasons promise to help each other and use a system of secret signs in order to recognize each other. So there you go. And Rosicrucians were a member of a secret 17th and 18th century society devoted to the study of metaphysical, mystical, and alchemical lore.
Alchemical.
I can never say that word. Thank you.
you.
Sarah was a math girly. We can't relate. So we previously talked about how she was drawn to the new theorem. In mathematics, a theorem is a statement that has been proved or can be proved. The proof of the theorem is a logical argument that uses the inferences rules of deduction system to establish that the theorem is a logical consequence of axioms and previously proved theorems. Again, we're going with all these big words. So breaking it down, inferences are steps in reasoning, moving from premise to logical consequences. The word infer means to carry forward. Axiom is a statement that is taken to be true to serve as a premise or starting point for further reasoning and arguments. Okay, where is your brain?
Lost. Break it down for me.
Well, I kind of did already.
Basic terms.
Anyway,
what does it mean?
I'm just saying we got to remember where she came from. So that's a lot of her recap of her studies, her family, where she came from. So we can say that because she really liked math and maybe 7, 11, and 13 were her favorite numbers, maybe that's why she built the house like that. Or we can say that we're just looking, we're reaching for ways to make this creepy. So let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with numerology?
I was going to say, we're not just saying it's her favorite numbers and that without getting into numerology, right? Let me ask you a question real quick, too. Does it say, anywhere that you came across, who started discovering the patterns in the numbers?
That's the thing. I think it was just kind of over time. That's why I'm saying, it is said that it was more of a secret, message, because it wasn't a known thing that she was maybe to her builders and stuff, but... Right.
I wondered, though, if there was, somebody who studied it along the way who started to notice all the patterns, or...
I don't know for sure.
Fair enough.
Okay, so numerology. Numerology is the belief in an occult, divine or mystical relationship between a number and one or more coinciding events. So numerology is the philosophy, science, and psychology of numbers. It can be traced back to the ancient wisdom. It is the basis of esoteric systems of enlightenment and sciences. So now, if we think about Sarah's upbringing being a lot of secret societies and deciphers, it kind of makes sense. And esoteric most commonly means obscure and the only understanding or intended to be understood by a small number of people with special or secret knowledge. This is crazy.
She was leaving signs.
But when you start thinking about it,
there was nothing that was just random about this house, even though on the appearances it looks random.
Do you feel the most powerful and beautiful with the elements of the earth around you? Do you like one-of-a-kind jewelry? Do you sometimes feel like a woodland fairy? Me too. That's why I created Holly and Hemlock, a magical shop filled with handmade wooden jewelry and metaphysical tools. Come check out our enchanting wooden wares at www.hollyhemlock.com and join us in honoring the magic and beauty of nature with each unique creation. That's www.hollyhemlock.com.
Right. And it's often used to describe knowledge that's only intended to be revealed to people who have been initiated into a certain group. So, like you just said, everything had a reasoning behind it. But if you didn't look into the background of Sarah and you didn't really know that kind of stuff, people really thought she was just crazy. They just thought she was a recluse. She stayed inside. She was just building this house over and over again. She was insane and weird and talked to dead people. And I mean,
sounds like a good time to me.
Right. So like we were just saying, this makes people think that Sarah was leaving clues throughout the house or codes for only those that would understand it. If we break down more, everything and everyone has a number that explains a spiritual meaning. So let's get into life path numbers. Do you know yours?
I did once. Me and Nick did an online quiz. Actually, you know what? I may not have figured it out because I think we got all the way to the end and it wanted us to like pay.
Okay.
I feel like we looked it up again afterwards, but I cannot remember. Are we going to do it?
Right. Okay. Before we get into life path numbers, I know you already kind of said it, but you think that she purposely built her house the way she did, like with all the 7, 11, and 13. Like, you think that that's a thing, or do you think people are reaching to find that?
I just, knowing all of her background and everything now, right? Like, I was kind of in the crazy camp before, but I don't think she did things without reason.
Okay. So, life path numbers. According to 7thlifepath.com, life path number is calculated from your full date of birth and is considered one of the most important and influential numbers within your entire numerology chart. The numbers used in numerology to indicate one's life path number run from 1 to 9, I'm sorry. So those are your core 1 and 9. That's like your life path number. But in many cases, your single digit life path number will be written to include the double digit number from which it was derivative from. So the double digit higher vibration adds its own like flavor, as they say, to your life path number. But it's usually discussed in greater detail only when the number is a master number, which are 11, 22, and 33.
So it's kind of like astrology, where it can be as complicated or as simple as you really want to get into it.
It is definitely described as astrology, but with numbers.
Okay.
So yes, basically, if we're dumbing it down, you're always going to be a 1 through 9 for your life path number, unless your birth date equals you to be 11, 22, or 33. Then those are the master numbers, and you're allowed to have those.
Okay.
Double digit ones. So for me, my birthday is January 18th, 1989. So January equaling 1. 18 would be 1 plus 8, which equals 9. And then 1989 would be 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 9, which equals 27. But you need to further break that down. So 2 plus 7 equals 9. So we have 1, 9, 9, 19. Okay, so then you need to further break that down. So 1 plus 9 equals 10. And again, that's not a master number. So you break that down again. 1 plus 0 equals 1. So my life path number is 1.
Okay, so you're always breaking it down to get to a single.
Unless it is 11, 22, or 33.
Okay.
I know, it's confusing. I'm not going to lie. It took a lot of time to fully understand that, because I kept getting confused. Like, what do you mean why am I breaking this down and not this?
You're going to have to start doing people's life path charts.
Lord have mercy. No, I found a calculator. It's going to be linked in one of my things, and you just put your birthday. It breaks it down for you, and it tells you what it is. Okay.
Very nice.
Life path number 1 is the natural born leader. What is your face right now? So values are individuality, independence, and autonomy. Challenges are to develop a voice of your own and a greater sense of self-confidence. TokenRock.com says, I would do well as an entrepreneur because I'm not afraid to take risks. I march to the beat of my own tune, and the people around me generally don't hear until the tune is completed and on the top 100 chart, baby. And I tend to do things my own way and create innovation by stirring up the pot.
You definitely stir the pot. I will say that.
I hate you. You don't think I'm a natural born leader?
I could see it. You lead Delilah very well.
She leads me. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Zachary.
So now I know why you texted me asking for a bunch of my information the other day.
No, well, I knew your birthday, but then I second guessed, and so I was
did confirm it, and you sent it right, so it's better than I would do. I never.
So please give me credit on that. Okay, your life path number is 9.
Ooh, what does that mean?
You are the humanitarian.
Okay.
So your values are compassion, understanding, and acceptance. Challenges to come away from every new experience a little bit wiser. And TokenRock.com says, you naturally attract people from all walks of life who can fit into your larger plans and take over the areas you find uninteresting. The person with a 9 life path is rarely prejudiced and accepts social bases of people. Instead, they evaluate people on the basis of what they can do for the larger cause. They are the true egalitarians. And if you don't know what an egalitarian is, it means relating to or believing in the principle that all people are equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities. So do you think you're gay because of your life path number?
I don't see how those two are related at all. It just means I'm nice to people.
Equal rights.
I mean, I want them for everybody.
I know, I'm just kidding. But yeah, do you feel like that's your number?
I could see that for sure.
I can too.
Yeah. No, I feel like I'm like, one, I'm not prejudiced, but I'm pretty open. I judge everybody equally. I don't judge them on who they are. I judge them on what they do.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Also, do you want to know who else's life path number is 9?
Whom?
Sam.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense too. I feel like it's very like water sign-esque, that high empathy.
It also can be considered the guide. So the humanitarian or the guide number. So you're like a guide,
Ooh.
Which kind of makes sense.
So we're leading and guiding over here.
Oh my God.
Down this oddity path.
Yes, we are. Okay, so like I briefly mentioned, there are 3 spiritual outliers to this theory. They are the master numbers being 11, 22, and 33. If you end up with those numbers, you wouldn't further break them down like I explained. So otherwise, you're 1 through 9. If you're those, you keep them. So master number 11 is the intuitive soul. Master number 22, the master builders or architects. Master 33 is the master preachers. And then I was kind of started diving down, but if you repeatedly see master numbers, like you're repeatedly seeing 11, like 1111 or 22, 33, things like that, those are actually messages that you should pay attention to.
I've heard that with numerology before, for sure. Like
yeah.
That.
Well, in 1111, I feel like you always hear is like good luck.
Make a wish.
You see 1111, make a wish, or like, yeah, it's good luck.
I actually did that today. I looked down at the clock at 11:11.
Actually, going back to what episode was it? Calls Beyond the Grave.
Episode 25.
When I briefly kind of said I had a story like that, the voicemail that was received actually came in at 11:11.
Ooh, interesting. Messages.
I know. Okay. So if you do happen to get an 11, you're supposed, or you see 11s, I should say, you're supposed to trust your intuition more and your rational thinking less. So what were you thinking about when you saw 11:11 today? Or you just like made a wish?
I was thinking that I had to get ready to go because I had to leave the house at 11:30, but I just happened to look down at 11:11. But that does kind of make sense. Okay, so you said less rational, more...
Trust your intuition more and your rational thinking less.
And that's where you're supposed to like make your quick decisions, right? When the limbic system takes over, like that's where your gut feelings and intuition comes from. So the more you overthink on it, like you're not going to accept that message from the universe just as it is. You're going to put your own spin.
Right. So if you're seeing 11 out there, people,
pay attention.
Jinx. If it's a 22, there is an opportunity to do something big and you need to grab it.
Okay.
Like if you keep seeing 22s, I should say.
Gotcha.
This is all just not like you just look over and you see 11 o'clock. No, it's like repeatedly seeing these. And if it's a 33, open your mind. There is a spiritual leader reaching out to you.
You're going to join a cult.
God.
If you start seeing 33s everywhere, you're going to join a cult.
Girl.
Or Kara just wants to talk to you. She's trying to lead you.
I was thinking that you were going to get like your spirit guide.
Oh, that too. I'm just going more the sarcasm route today.
Oh my God, you're going like the dark, fucked up route. I'm like, your spirit guy's trying to talk to you.
I'm like, you're in a cult.
Anyway, this is the sad part, is that we don't actually know Sarah Winchester's exact birth date. So I couldn't really break her down, which I was really bummed about because I wanted to know what her number would be.
I bet she's an architect.
Hold your thought, please.
I'll hold.
Okay. But this is where this gets really goosey bumpy for me. You getting the goosebumps. The house is built around 7, 11, and 13. We already talked about that. If you break it down, 7 plus 11, which remember, 11, you're not going to break down any further because it's a master number. So 7 plus 11 plus 13. So 13 would break down to 4. That would equal 22. And if you remember, 22 is the master architect.
Called it.
Isn't that wild?
It is weird.
She literally built her house on the numbers, creating a spiritual house.
So is she saying she's the architect or the house is the architect?
The house. I don't know. I mean, I guess
no, you could kind of go with that, right? Like the house, she's getting the plans from somewhere else to build it, is what we're assuming, right? Interesting take on it. So it almost makes the house as its own entity.
Yeah. So, or she was like the architect of the spirit world within the house, whichever way you want to go into it, which I just think is so, I don't know. It's so crazy to me. So then again, you go back to like, are we reaching and are we really like, okay, yes, 7, 11, 13, like all these things. Yes, we could count here and there and that.
Like, or are we actually figuring out the mystery?
Right. Or was this really a secret code in a message? I mean, when you break it down, the home is literally built on the master number of architect. It's wild to me.
Yeah, that is definitely strange.
I had goosebumps and I was like, this is so cool.
I need to get more knowledge on numerology. Do a whole episode one time. Part 4 coming, guys.
It's hard. I mean, not hard, but it's like, it's wild. But yeah, I in the notes, the show notes, there'll be a lot of stuff, like obviously the links and stuff. And if you watch the Sam and Colby episode that they did in the Winchester Mystery House, I think it's their part 2 or like the second time they went, they really dive into it. And they have a professional numerologist on there. And she kind of breaks down a lot of their numbers and stuff. I forgot about that. And then I went to her website and it's actually really cool. So I'll have that linked. And I forgot to put her name in here, but it was cool. Her website gives a lot more details and things like that. But yeah, I don't even know how we would do an episode on numerology. Like I really just don't. I don't even know how we would do it. Okay. So anyway, like we were just talking about, she's basically the architect of this spirit world. So this goes back to the fact that we had kind of previously talked about or touched on in episode 2, I think, is that she'd spent hours in her seance room talking to these spirits. So it's said that at 12 midnight, the bell would ring 13 times, the bell tower would ring 13 times to summon the spirits in. And she would spend from 12 to 2 in there alone talking to these spirits.
So is this reported from like the builders who?
Yeah. And okay, so here's the thing that if you go back to part 2, remember in the seance room?
Oh yeah, there was the hole to the kitchen.
Yeah, and I read that on the WinchesterMysteryHouse.com website, like, and I saw pictures. But then when I've been watching videos about it, I don't see that hole. So I don't know if it got patched up or not, but I'm not quite sure. But my thought is that people, obviously, if that was true at one point, there was that hole in the seance room, obviously people then would hear it because it went down to the kitchen. Right. So if you were in the kitchen, like the cooks and stuff, the staff, I'm sure you would hear her. And also, I'm sure that people tried to like listen in because like, what is she doing every night from 12 to midnight? Like, so yes, I'm sure this a lot came from the staff, things like that. And then at 2, the bell would ring again 13 more times, signaling to release the spirits back.
Interesting.
Allegedly. And then Sarah would, after the session, slip instructions to her builders. So after each seance, she would have more instructions on the next steps that she received from the spirits. So
yeah, it is almost like the house is the architect, right? Like,
It's so weird to me.
So interesting, though.
Why do I love this house more? All right. Now, I will say that I don't fully know if I believe that it's the spirits of those that were killed by the family's gun that are haunting her. Because, if we kind of remember, we kind of touched on that she maybe thought that she was haunted by the spirits of those who died from the Winchester gun. I don't know if I fully believe that, and that she's like building this house to hide from them or to confuse them. Because again, I don't understand then why you would bring them to your seance room for 2 hours every night to speak to them if you're trying to confuse them. So that's always kind of not made sense to me. So I'm not really sure if I believe that. But I do know that Sarah clearly spent her life trying to understand and communicate with the afterlife. She was dedicated to her family more than anything, and I think she just wanted to keep them around. So maybe this was a way to kind of keep them forever. And just to show how much she loved her families, like how much they meant to her, her loved ones meant to her, in the home, they found a safe that was in a safe. And when they broke it open, the only things that were in there, this is so heartbreaking, was a lock of her daughter's hair. Annie, remember she died, and her husband's hair, 2 locks of hair. And then I think it was like her husband's will was in there. The only items in there were just her family. Like, you know what I mean? That just shows you how much her family, like, those were her only valuables.
Yeah, we kind of talked in episode 1 about how she, like, obviously built really strong connections with the people she cared about.
Yes. So I kind of think that her seances were to speak to her husband and her daughter and her mother and her father-in-law and all those close people that passed away. I think she was just searching to still have that communication. And it does just go to show you that this woman is, at the time, one of the richest women in the world. And in her safe, the only things that are in there are literally her family members' pieces of hair.
The things that are just completely unreplaceable. Because honestly, anything of monetary value that she put in there, she'd just be able to replace. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I have goosebumps because I just think that's...
So did she ever comment on why she did the things she did or who she was talking to or anything?
Not really, no. Not that anyone is reported. Yeah, so anyway, like I was just saying, like family was her only valuables. And with, I don't know. I'm like all lost for words now. With all the seances and the house literally being a beacon of communication for the spirit world, y'all must be thinking it's haunted.
Oh, it's gotta be.
We like, hello. And yes, it is. The Winchester Mystery House is supposedly one of the most haunted locations in the world. So they still say, is that Reptar? That baby wants out.
Yeah, he's trying to escape.
Did he get out today?
He spent all day out. Even when I was gone for like 3 or 4 hours, I left him in here. He's been in his cage for about 45 minutes today. And he thinks he needs to come back out.
Little crybaby. Okay. So some of the hauntings that are talked about are a lot of residual hauntings, which if you're not familiar, residual hauntings is like a spiritual playback. So it's stuck on repeat. A moment from the past is played back over and over again, like a video loop, which to me, that makes sense because if you think about it, these workers are, I mean, essentially her family, they were working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They were just like on a loop of like the same day-to-day tasks. Like, yes, they were doing different construction, but it was all the same type of tasks and duties, and the cooks and the cleaning crew, like all of that. Like,
and my personal thought too, like when it comes to residual, right, is it's left behind by a huge energy imprint, right? If energy is not created or destroyed, and you have a lot of energy being poured into that. So it makes sense, like aspects of what was going on in that house would get almost stuck in a loop.
Yeah. And if you think about it, I should have tried to look this up, but there were 20 carpenters that were like rotating through shifts. Those are just the carpenters. That's not her wait staff. Right. That's not her maids or cleaning crew, the gardeners. Like there are so many employees to that mansion. Like you just said, that is so much energy.
Exactly.
So the residual is mostly experienced in the grand ballroom with Clyde.
Ooh, tell me about Clyde.
I like that name, Clyde. So he's a mustached man, sometimes seen pushing a wheelbarrow in the basement or trying to repair the fireplace in the ballroom.
Oh, Clyde needs a day off.
They have a picture of him on WinchesterMystery.com's website, like a whole black and white picture of all the little workers. And I think he's the one all the way on the right, if you want to look him up. It says, but Clyde, he just be trying to fix that fireplace. And it's reported that guests actually at times have commented to the staff, like, oh my God, we really like that actor that's fixing the fireplace. Like he's covered in ash. He's in like traditional like uniform or whatever. And so like a lot of people comment on that. And the staff is always like, yeah, we don't pay actors. That's Clyde.
You know, I wonder if in Hill House, right, which takes definitely pieces from the Winchester. I don't know if you watched that yet or not. But
no, you've asked me, but I need to.
They're doing a part where it's almost like they're starting to put pieces together that things are going weird in the house. And the kid had been walking past this guy who's been fixing the clock over and over. And then they realized that he was never there.
Oh my God.
And I wonder if that's almost like a little homage to Clyde.
Maybe, which I just think is so cute. So the staff also does say, like the staff now, I should say, because, you know, it's still up and running. They seem to also like experience intelligent hauntings. And Denny, which is a longtime maintenance worker there, and this is like a quote from the website, said that one morning after entering the water tower, he heard the patter of footsteps above. He ascended to let the trespasser know the 3-story structure was off limits, but the footsteps always seemed to be one step ahead of him and one floor above. And so he like searched on and up to the roof, and then he never found anybody.
Oh, that's so creepy.
So he was just like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like, there ain't nobody here. It's not real. It's not like a real person.
Right.
Do your thing, explore whatever you need to do. Which I kind of though think that, well, I guess Clyde would be more residual. I was gonna say he's kind of intelligent, but he's just doing the things that he used to do. So he would be more residual.
Yeah, for sure.
The most common hauntings that they say around I was gonna say castle. I mean, I guess it kind of is.
It's not far off.
Shadow figures. So a lot of people always say that it doesn't like feel evil, nothing evil. It's just like a human shaped manifestation, and it's seen like roaming down the hallways or around the corners, like appearing in the windows. A lot of people claim that they don't claim. They've taken pictures of the house, and then they claim that they see like a shadowy figure in the window, and they're like, is that Sarah or what is that? But that's like one of the main things, is that people just always see shadowy manifestations, but they don't feel anything about it.
I've heard that too, and I always know like people equated that with Sarah, which is strange to me, right? Because like you have that, like, talk about repeat hauntings or like things you see a lot, right? But people always see like the woman in white sort of deal.
Yep.
But for some reason, Sarah's always depicted in like almost all black, like mourning.
Well, this is why. She was said to always have worn all black.
Right.
And I didn't really touch on that because I didn't really see too much about that. There's like one famous picture of her. It's like probably like the one and only picture that you have, and she's like in the carriage. And that is kind of one of the things that people always talk about, is that she wore black head to toe. Like, she was always in mourning. She always wore gloves, like no matter what. And a lot of people though think that that's because she had that rheumatoid arthritis and she didn't want people to see her hands, so she wore gloves. I didn't really touch too much on that because I do think that is true, but I don't necessarily think that like her, whatever, I wear all black almost all the damn time. Let me live my life. Let Sarah live her life. But what I was going to say is, and a lot of this is from the Winchester Mystery House.com, and none of that really says that they think that it's Sarah around. And I don't really think that it is. And the reason that I don't think it is because I feel that she spent her entirety, like the entirety of her life, trying to communicate to her family that passed away. And now she can like be free and be with them. Why would she be back at this house?
That makes sense, yeah.
That's
something I never really thought of.
Maybe to pop in or whatever, if she can do that here or there and like say, hey, but I just don't know. I just don't feel like that's Sarah. I feel like she's with her family. She did what she needed to do to communicate with them until she was with them, and now she's with them, and I don't think she comes back. I think it's more of all of the other people that like loved her and are so faithful to her,
right,
that are just still working on that house and just chilling. And other things are basically just, you know, like tourists will report of like tugs on their clothes and stuff, but like almost like in a friendly, like, hey, hello, like I'm here. I'm here. Hey, nothing like crazy or weird. Not to say that there aren't rooms in the house that don't feel weird, and I'm sure that there are weird things that happen there, or unsettling things. But like we just previously talked about, there's a lot of energy there, and who knows what other things she was communicating with while trying to communicate to those that she wanted.
That's kind of what I was going to say. If she was trying to talk to her family, she might not have known what she was doing and bringing some stuff in, right? And I always feel like, though, when it comes to hauntings, right, like look at Rose Red or the Winchester movie or everything, they always try to make it look evil. But we're so quick to say something's bad because it tugged on your clothes or scratched you or this or that. But you have to think, these are disembodied spirits. They're going to, they make themselves known any way they can. So if the only thing they can do is scratch your skin.
But who's to say that they're not just trying to just like touch you?
Exactly. Like
manifest
make your presence
or whatever
known.
into, and it turns into a scratch. Like
not everything is a demon when it comes to ghost hunting.
Just gonna say that they're not all demons.
Sorry, soapbox. I'm off it now.
No, you can get back on it because it's fine. But yeah, most encounters, most things that I read, the comments and stuff on the website and things like that, nobody ever really says that I found, at least, I don't feel okay here. This was crazy. This was dark. This was heavy, like in bad ways. Because I do feel like there's a heavy feeling in a
Maybe it is in a way
Bad
to
way.
confuse like the bad spirits, not let them in. And
Oh, that's a good point. So maybe she was trying to confuse. Okay, so maybe she was getting direction from the good spirits telling
Right.
her how to confuse the bad ones that were murdered from the Winchester gun. Okay, I like that.
are you familiar with like intentional haunting at all? So we've talked about intelligent, we've talked about residual.
I think I am, but you can.
Yeah, there's the third group, right? Which is like, okay, so if we think a residual is residual energy from when people died, like they expended that energy when they were alive. So you also have to take into account intentional, where hundreds of people are pouring through this house every year, pouring all sorts of energy about thinking that it's haunted into it. So of course there's going to be things that manifest even afterwards, almost at the result of living people haunting it.
It's kind of like an egregore.
Yeah,
Like the egregore. Yep,
Mhm.
yep. Where you're like that intent creates.
exactly. The crybaby bridges, the, you know,
Yes.
the Dybbuk
Ugh.
boxes, which don't exist.
Speak for yourself. I have goosies. Okay. So anyway, I am saying that from all of this, Sarah was not crazy, as people say. Let her wear her black if she wants to. She built her house to communicate to her loved ones and be a beacon of the spirit communication, however you want to word it. And I really don't think that she's still at the house. I could be wrong, but I feel like she moved on. She'd be living her best life now, her best unlife. And yeah, so according to WinchesterMysteryHouse.com, the consensus,
Consensus.
see, do you know how many times I practiced that word saying it before this? The consensus seems to be that if there is something here, it is as welcoming to the many guests that walk through the gates at the staff as the staff of the Winchester Mystery House. And that is the wild end of the Winchester Mystery House that still does not do it any justice.
It's so interesting though, because it paints a really different picture of what you'd think about her, you know? I feel like
kind of why I wanted to do it.
any play that I've seen on the Winchester for like a fiction movie or whatever, or the Winchester house, right? It always has Sarah as this like evil,
Crazy.
conjuring type of person. Yeah. Okay, but real quick, just to go back on a point you were just saying about practicing words, I can't wait for when you're dead, because I bet your residual haunting is just going to be practicing words, like all the EVPs.
I hate you. Consensus.
They're like, I think the spirit's trying to say the word alchemical. I'll be like, that's Kara.
Oh my God. First off, what's going to happen is if I die first, then I'm going to come kill you so you don't have any chance to talk to me.
You wouldn't even be able to manifest a scratch.
Watch me, bitch. Okay, so I guess what do you think about the house, the numerology, Sarah, the spirits? Like, what do you think?
So, I mean, I definitely think that it's, at least to Sarah, it's not random, right? There was intentionality into all the weirdness of the house. I think it's one of those things, and I feel like we've said this for the last, 3 episodes or topics that we've covered, is it's one of those mysteries we're never going to know.
Yeah.
Which makes it even harder to wrap your head around, right? But I don't know. I really think there's still parts of her, as high of an empath as she was, and as much as she was connected to those around her, she had to feel some sort of guilt for the gun, right? And making money off of it. So I still think there's probably parts of it that were like, I'm going to go with your point. I think she was trying to talk to her family. That's nothing I ever actually even thought about before, right? But I do think parts of it are to confuse some of the spirits she was haunted by.
Yeah, I actually really like your thought that, yeah, she was possibly getting the information of the next building steps from the loved ones, the good ones or whatever, to confuse those that are, resentful towards her.
Because, I mean, anybody who does seances or plays with a Ouija board or tries to communicate with spirits, like you can't pick who's coming through, right? So you do have to protect yourself if some of those negative things do start to come around.
And also, let's just remind ourselves that maybe 1 or 2 times you might have really great experiences, but she was doing this every single night for 2 hours. So there's no way that something negative or evil or maybe demonic didn't
come
through at one point. But it is interesting that nobody reports of anything being there. Her now. That's like
numerology worked. She has almost made like it's like 13 Ghosts, right? Where the house traps all the bad spirits.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I really wish we knew her actual like full birthday because I really want to know what her number is.
Interesting. Yeah, it would be nice to know. I bet it's the architect.
Well, that would only be if she got the master number.
It's gotta be.
I think when I broke her year down, it was 3, which now I don't remember what it was, but it didn't necessarily align with her. So I was like, yeah, no, that's... God, I wish I could remember what it was, but it didn't align with her. So if we break down Sarah's just her year, yeah, she was life path 3, which is the socializer, which does not make sense because she didn't... Well, I guess in her early life she did. Well, okay, so her values then would be creativity and self-expression.
I could see socializer too, right? Because what we don't know is the relationships she built with the staff.
Okay.
Because remember, she was paying them really well and they worked for a long time. And they loved her. Exactly.
And they loved her.
So she was socializing with people, just not in the way you would think like a socialite with that much money.
But she kind of was a social-ish person before.
Oh, absolutely.
So then, okay, and then the life path 3 challenges were to remain optimistic yet realistic in the face of difficulties, which she definitely did not do because that house was not realistic. Okay, I'm dumb. All right, so if you break down her year, it does kind of make sense.
Interesting.
Wow. I'll send you this website so you have all of
Yes,
this.
please do.
But I mean, it is in our show notes. This one is from refinery29.com if you guys want to at least go through and see what the spirit numbers mean. I don't have the calculator website on the top of my head, but it will be in the show notes. And you literally just put your birthday in. It calculates it for you. It actually gives you the mathematical breakdown.
Let us know what your numbers are and if you think it matches your personalities. Yes. Let's do a separate post about it too.
Oh, yeah. We'll do like a poll. Like, do you know your...
Anyway, though, fantastic job. All 3 parts. I feel like I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot of really big words. And I have just a totally different viewpoint of the Winchester house for sure.
I think that from episode 1, you said you're like, wow, I see Sarah in a different light. And then episode 2, I kind of, it's just like the house. I tried to give you as much detail, but this part I don't feel like is talked about as much as like all of the numerology and things like that. And like I said, watch that Sam and Colby episode. It'll also be linked. The YouTube will be linked because it does give you a little bit more insight. And it has that numerologist in there and she's really cool. Go to her website. Okay, what else do you have?
That's about it. I want to go play with some numerology stuff. I'm gonna like start charting my whole family.
Oh,
wait,
Lord.
Guys, you'll get a report from me.
Okay, Emily. We're going to give you your life path number soon. All right. Well, yeah. So we'll do a post around the time that this comes up. We'll do a poll. What's your life number? Let us know if you think it matches and like, subscribe, do all the things. I'm so sorry. This was 3 parts. I hope you love it. And most importantly, creep it really, oddballs.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Oddity Shop.